Time to get into a bit of brand chatter now with Tony Chapman, host of the Chatter That Matters podcast. This is where we look back at some of the big brand stories of the week. And check it out, Tony Chapman in the house, back from Costa Rica. Tony, so good to see you.
Always a pleasure. And so nice to be in your new studio.
It's great to have you here, Tony. That's for sure. Okay, you know, it's interesting, Tony. We haven't had an opportunity to talk to you about Meta. The face of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, his, move about a week and a half ago or so to sort of say, hey, you know what? Forget fact checkers. We're just going to go with community notes. So what do you make of not only the motive behind this, but is this going to potentially hurt Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp with the removal of this?
Well, let's start with arrogance because, listen, I know he's holding a lot of cards, 3 billion users worldwide. Even if only 20% are active, that's 600 million users.
Yeah.
He knows everything about us, how we think, how we feel, how we act, all that data. So he's got a lot of cards to play, and marketers depend on him because they move a lot of volume. So he says, I can do whatever I want. So he takes away fact checkers. Why is he doing that? Well, maybe because the election that Biden got elected, him personally and Facebook put hundreds of millions of dollars behind the Democrats. So now Trump's coming back in. Oh, I'll put Dana White in on the board, his good buddy of that. I got a kind of rival that's the new Tonto to the Lone Ranger being Elon Musk. So I think he's doing all of this stuff for Trump. But as a marketer, they got to start looking at their moral compass. Am I good putting my advertising dollars where he's vocally said, yeah, we might see things where LGBTQ are called queers or, people that are mentally challenged or retarded. We might see that now happen on Facebook, or we're going to put more male and to counter this wokeism. So when will marketers say, is the moral compass more important than my bottom line? He doesn't seem to think that's an issue. I question whether it might be.
And we have seen major brands move away from X, formerly Twitter, over the last several years there. So there is that risk, too, that's played out for sure.
Absolutely. And he's even said, it might happen, it might surface. This is Wild Wild West. Trump's come in with a Wild Wild West, and Facebook's following suit. But, again, he owns Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. And now if TikTok goes dark, it only further strengthens his position. So it's going to be up to marketers to decide, does this matter to me? And Facebook users to say, am I happy with the new Facebook, given some of the toxicity that might suddenly appear.
Yeah, okay, and we've certainly seen no shortage of political stories these days. Premier Doug Ford has certainly been working overtime, establishing himself as kind of the pro-Canada face, but also a frenemy to the U.S. Do you think that branding will pay off? We've seen him with the hat. Canada's not for sale. He's been on all these shows in the U.S.
I love the hat because I think it is it's a chance for Canada. Over the last 10 years, we've really become very divided. English, France, East, West, pro-climate, anti-climate, everything. We have to be for and against. That hat is kind of a unifying that starts reminding Canadians, you know what? There's something very special about this country. And if I wear this, I'm kind of identifying with a tribe called a country versus a cluster that happens to really have herded me into their camp through social media. So I like it. I also like the fact that Donald Trump kind of plays to that Trump vibe. He's the kind of guy, if I walked into a bar, saw him at a football game, I'd feel very confident sitting down and having a beer with him when that hat is on. Yeah. So I think he's done the right thing. But what we've got to be very careful of is that we don't suddenly have our politicians posturing for pole position. That's important that we really go after this unified front because Donald Trump will exploit our weaknesses. He's the best at divide and conquer. And right now he sees this is a country that easily divide and therefore easily conquer.
Well, it's interesting because on that, the other thing that Premier Ford said the other day was kind of this buy Canadian or buy Ontario, sort of this new wave of patriotism and this plea to buy. But, how should Canadian businesses then, Tony, be leveraging their products, capitalizing on this sentiment? Because it is out there. We had a question sort of the other day to our viewers, are you going to buy Canadian? Everyone wants to.
Yeah, so head, heart, and hands. I've done this for years at my AI company. That's all we focus on. I think and I feel, I'm pro-environment, pro-sustainability, pro-Canada. I go in as a shopper, what's on sale?
Yeah.
So that the psychology difference between how I think, feel, and act is, to connect those two, we have to personify and personalize the importance of buying Canada. Put a maple leaf on your product. Talk about how many hours went into it. Talk about the local and circular economy. We've been saying this for small business for years. Show how you support the local community, and the local community will support you. Hey, your son, Nick, who loves to scooter, he also works at bagging groceries. You know what? I'm going to shop at that grocery store. That is how you've got to personify Canada, as opposed to going this sort of, we'll just put this sort of axe to tax kind of slogan out there. No, show it and act upon it, and I think consumers will follow.
Yeah, create the story and the
Create the
meaning
story and the
behind
narrative.
it.
Personify it. Make it personal, though. Make it go, this is important to me and to our community and therefore Canada, as opposed to leaving it so far out
Obscure.
that I just simply go and say what's on sale.
Right. Okay, Tony, appreciate these insights. Thanks very much for joining us again this morning.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you soon.
Tony.
Always great to see you.
Take care.